Today's video, I'm going to show you my top 5. No, I'm just going to show you the David Austin roses that I have that are putting on a spectacular first flush. Now, it is the last week of April. I was out of town for a couple of days, so I did miss the flush. Came in at the end on one of them, but it's still covered in blooms. And so we'll talk about it. And many of these were on my least favorite David Austin video, which I will put up here from last year. As we go through the garden, if you watch that least favorite video, you will see a lot of them have since been put in the ground over the winter, before the winter. And so these are second year David Austin roses. In fact, these second year roses have bloomed quicker than my third year roses. Then my third years are covered in blooms too. So it's just a little early. So these are about the first to bloom, second year David Austin roses. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, the first rose is my glorious climber, Crown Princess Margareta. This did very well for me last year too. Again, second year, have her up on an obelisk. She was just really lightly pruned this winter. I did prune later. Normally we like to prune in February. I think I pruned early to mid-March this year on my David Austins. It might have been mid-March, but again, this one was really early pruned. It's just amazing. So I try to keep the front shorter, and then I kind of wove it around. You can see it's got these beautiful cupped blooms. Let's come in closer. Okay, so it is beautiful cupped flowers, really apricot. They fade to a very pale yellow. These are older, these are new. Lots and lots of buds. I kept the front end short to try and fill in this area and still make it like a bush around the bottom. Also because when I was starting to try and weave through the obelisk, it was just getting pretty full. So I decided to, keep the front cane short. After this long one here blooms, I will probably cut it back. So after this first flush, I'll cut them short again, so that second flush, stays, in this area. But it's just so gorgeous. I might even just cut a stem. I hate cutting flowers. I don't know if anybody else is like that. I just love the way they look on the bush so much. I have a friend that every time she gets a new bloom, she cuts them off and brings them inside, and it's so beautiful. But I guess I spend most of my time walking my garden and admiring my blooms, so I don't really want to cut them. Let's see, it's over here. I can't do it. Well, I can deadhead. All right, I'm going to cut from this one. If you like the carrier, if you like my overalls, I have a favorite things video from last week that I talk about them. Okay, that's it. Maybe I'll do one bigger one. Okay, these are not going to be my long cut roses because I just don't want to cut a whole stem off. All right, Crown Princess Margareta, one of my first to flush, and it's absolutely spectacular. Okay, my second beautiful bloomer is another climbing rose. It's actually a lot of climbers if I really think about it. This is the Gertrude Jekyll. This one, I'm not even sure. This one might not have even been on my list. I don't think this was on my list of non-performers, but it did not really perform for me last year. I did get a few early spring blooms like this. It was a pot. It was, 6 weeks after I had received them in the mail and planted them. And then I dropped the pot, and then I just stuck the root back in a bucket of water for like a week instead of getting it planted, and it never bloomed again. In fact, it took a long time to even put out leaves again. So I kept it in the pot. And when I talk pots, I mean, we're talking whiskey barrel, pots. I mean, these are large pots. But I moved it here this winter, or actually, I moved it when right around the time when I pruned it. February, early March, and it already needs to be deadheaded. It is blooming so beautifully, and what I love about it is the fragrance. I can be over by the grassy area, and I can smell this rose. I'm like, which rose am I smelling? And it is Gertrude. So extremely, extremely thorny. And it looks like I have a little bit of sawfly damage back here, but overall super healthy. Well, I pruned it back, getting most of the new growth on the top. I'm not getting a lot of new growth down here at the bottom. I think I've got a couple leaves. Might be just a little slow, but anyways, flat pink, flat bright pink blooms, about, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 3.5 inches to 4 inches, but the fragrance, it is divine. This is one, if you can bear the thorns, you'd want to stick in an arrangement that you give away, just so it had that really strong rose scent in whatever little bouquet that you're giving away. Now, this particular location seems to like this trellis here, does only get morning sun. So right by the house, the sun, this is east, sun is coming right up in my face, and it will travel this way. And as soon as it gets behind the house, around late morning, around noon, 11 or noon, this does get all afternoon shade. So we'll see how it does throughout the summer. Okay, can we talk about Desdemona? Look at this bush. Oh, really soft, but sweet fragrance. All these beautiful sprays with, 5 or 6 blooms still left to open. They do shatter. This is not one that I would necessarily cut to bring into the house, unless you cut super early, and then you could, put it in your bathroom or put it on a nightstand if you have a guest for 2 or 3 days. But these do not last more than just a couple of days before they shatter. So, but oh so beautiful, oh so delicate, just really, really gorgeous. Like I could cut these and put them inside. I don't want to cut that one, it's got buds, but maybe I'll cut 1 or 2 of these other small ones and put it in my little rose arrangement. So I'm sure you've always heard cut down to the 5 leaf. On a lot of the David Austin roses, you don't want to cut to the 5 leaf because a lot of them will grow on sprays, and those additional buds will pop up, next to a 3 leaf. So you just want to know your roses. The 5 leaf is great for like the hybrid teas and everything like that, but on your David Austin shrub roses, you do not want to always cut to a 5 leaf because you might be cutting off some new buds. Now, of course, they will say you take out the center one. The center one's the first one to bloom, and then you have your other buds left behind, and then they open, and then when those die, you go down to the 5 leaf. But sometimes I will look and I will find, again, new growth, and it'll be a new budding growth coming out of a 3 leaf. So you just want to know your rose. So it's a good rule of thumb. If you just really don't know what you're going to do, it's not going to hurt it cutting down to the 5th leaf. But some David Austins will get new buds, at a 3 leaf. And so just remember, this is a 2nd year shrub. This is the 2nd location. I had it over by that Crown Princess Margareta, which is the only rose that I put in the ground over there that survived. I've lost several of them, And this is one of the ones that I dug up a couple of weeks after I put it in there because I could see it had been covered with buds, and I could see them just wilting, the whole plant just wilting, and it was being overwatered, not underwatered, because of course the symptoms of being overwatered very similar to underwatering. So you do want to always use a moisture meter to check. And if it's like, if you've got a wilting plant and it says it's super wet, like this is super wet right here, all the way over, you don't want to be watering it more. You need to start assessing as if the water is not draining. So anyways, moved it here. It was happy last year, bloomed a couple of times, so a lot smaller, but yeah, this is my first full flush second season on a David Austin rose. I have an itty bitty one behind it that hopefully next year will grow to be this size. I love this size rose bush for the front of the garden. It will get taller. It will get a foot or two taller. It'll start filling this area in, but I just really love the shape of this shrub rose. All right, next to it is Wollerton Old Hall. This one had a lot of black spot, so it's been pretty harshly defoliated at the bottom, and I still see some black spot on the new growth, which, you know, is terrible. I do use a preventative spray, and after I had removed all the black spot and then I sprayed everything with the preventative spray, I was hoping that would keep the new growth happy. I also use a product called Mancozeb, and I know everyone has their own opinions on spraying, but I do use some Mancozeb, which actually will kill black spot spores. I am going to investigate. I mean, this looks pretty much like black spot, but, you know, there are some funguses which give a round black spot on your leaves. Just to be sure I'm treating it correctly. Again, you know, it being on the new growth so young is a little bit more concerning to me. But this is the Wollerton Old Hall. It's a climber. It has a real light fragrance. I mean, I would not call this a fragrant rose, but beautiful drooping heads. A lot of people don't like it because the heads do droop forward like this. So you almost have to get underneath. They just come on an arch. But as it grows up, because it is a climber, and then they droop down, it's going to be beautiful. So not that much of a wow factor while it's still a small shrub. And again, it was in a pot last year. Lots of thin canes, young canes. This one is an own root. I think this one is from Heirloom Roses. So it's younger than some of the ones that David Austin will send out, bare root, which are, you know, 2 to 3 year old roses. This is a 1-year-old rose. So the canes are a lot thinner, but we'll just keep having it grow up the obelisk and work it through. And I think the fall flush will be spectacular. Again, I'll try and trim up the front canes. And this is the Wollerton Old Hall, though. It's really stunning. Okay, let's look at what's going on my English garden. That's what I call this section. The one up here in front is my Sceptered Isle. I'll come on this side. Look at all of these clusters. So you can see the center bloom on all these little sprays are going to open first, and then, which many of them have, especially over here on the back side. Look at that. And it is definitely a light fragrance. Is this tea? I'm so bad. By the end of this year, I'm determined to be able to distinguish between tea and myrrh and fruity and old rose fragrance. It is just a light scent. It's not a super sweet scent. And I would say maybe it's more tea-ish. I'll put what the fragrance is supposed to be in the notes. All right, let's come out here. This did have some black spot. I treated for black spot earlier. Might not have gotten in and removed all the old leaves. We have had a lot of rain, and of course I'm in Middle Tennessee where all of the plants have dew on them in the morning, so it's quite humid. So yes, we do battle black spot a lot more than, let's say, those in the Pacific Northwest or in California have to deal with it. But these open up, and this rose is a favorite of pollinators because it has the easily accessible stamens inside. Yeah, so it's just gorgeous. It did really well for me last year, and I can tell it's going to do real well this year. Last year, the canes really started pushing out. I did try and trim the ones that were growing straight out off and try to encourage a little bit more upright growth. So if I look down here, I can see where I trimmed off the canes that were shooting forward. And also in the back, there's some kind of reaching for the light because, again, the light stays on the front side and growing on the ground. And I trim those off too because they're just going to cause black spot issues. So yeah, I do like to keep the underside and center as clear as possible to get the airflow. Ooh, this small one has a strong fragrance. Not sure I love fragrance. We'll let you know if that's considered tea or myrrh, but it is not rose. Okay, I guess my Sceptrodile really wasn't one that's covered in first flush because it is just covered in buds. I mean, my Silas Marner is obviously getting buds and clusters too. But this is my Olivia Rose Austin. It was in a pot the entire season last year. I just moved it here in February, cut it down hard. This one got, pretty tall. In the pot, it was, taller than me. But it also grew in beautiful sprays. These cut really beautifully, in my opinion. I could cut a spray and put it in a bathroom in a small little vase. I mean, you're not going to get the really long stems, but, and it would last for a week. Not really a strong fragrance either. No, maybe that will develop later. Ooh, I see a ladybug. Anyways, but it's so beautiful. It's the pretty in pink, baby pink, and the centers, and it tightly cupped, tons of petals, and it fades to a light blush and white on the outer edges. Yeah, this was gorgeous. This is one of my favorite. It bloomed all summer long. It is going to get much taller. I anticipate it being 4 to 5 feet in the ground. Anything I had in a pot, I expect to grow at least another foot in the ground. So this is going to be pretty tall, and I have another tall one, the Queen of Sweden. Yeah, this is Olivia Rose Austin. I have my Queen of Sweden behind it, looking really peachy, but I know that one's really tall, so it'll kind of fill out this area. I do keep these little urns around. I have some more. They all came from my mother-in-law's garden, and no, this one didn't. I bought this one, but I have some urns around that came from my mother-in-law's garden, and I just use them because I need a place to toss the weeds, or if I deadhead, and then I can just come with a bucket and empty them out. But I wanted something that looks a little more attractive than just having a bucket, a black bucket or a Home Depot bucket in the garden. So I like the little ceramic urns, and I am trying to place those around the garden. So Olivia Rose Austin, one of my top 5 favorites last year, still a favorite and a first to flush this year. Okay, I talked about a lot of roses that did not have a very sweet fragrance. Elizabeth is not one of them. She is magnificent. Kind of like Gertrude, you can smell her walking by. We're already at the point, her first flush is coming over, and it's time to deadhead. But tons and tons and tons of blooms or buds still on here. Oh, heavenly sweet rose scent. So it's definitely one if you want that rose scent. This is going to be a really huge shrub. Let me get on this side so I don't throw a shadow on it. Yeah, this is going to be a really huge shrub. I can, tell the way it's filling out that it's going to be wide. It's got the flat blooms, which really were not my favorite style bloom originally, but her fragrance is so amazing. And when she's covered, it's so amazing. So this was one of my 5 least favorite David Austins last year. I had her in a pot. And it was a fairly narrow pot. I had her in a pot the entire summer into the fall. I think she came into the ground maybe in October. Within 3 weeks of putting her in the ground, she just exploded in size. So it was in a smaller pot. Normally I try and get them in a whiskey barrel pot, but she was in one of my original temporary, you just get a plant and need to put it in a pot. So you figure out till you get your beds ready or whatever. And so it was a more narrow pot. The base got down to maybe, 16 inches wide. And I just think it was way too small for her, and her roots got way too hot because she's going to be massive. I was trying to stake her up. I have these rounded bird cage. They're bird cages, basically. They look like my obelisks. It's the same company from Gardner Supply. It's the Le Jardin bird cage, a 3-foot bird cage. Yeah, I might put that. I have one more left, and I think I'll put it around her because I do know she gets really massive, and she's got so many buds and petals that it'll just kind of help hold her up and somewhat contained. And she's starting to fill out in the back now too. So she's just going to be this nice, big, rounded shrub. And she's just absolutely lovely. The rosettes start as a light peachy apricot and fade to white. Okay, this is another rose that was on my least favorite list last year, my 5 least favorite David Austin roses, and this is Emily Bronte. And so there's a lot of talk on David Austin forums about people having her for 2 years. She's not doing anything. Give her a 3rd year, and we'll see what she does. She did not do anything in a pot for me, even though she was supposed to be good in containers. And again, these are really large whiskey barrel size containers. She grew beautifully. I mean, it was a beautiful, healthy, big, fat green leaves, but there were no buds. I did move her into the ground, and did I move her in the winter? In the middle of the winter, I kind of built this little berm area, and she is one of the first to bloom. So she starts out small, little peach insides, little cups, and then opens up to flat and has a beautiful sweet fragrance. I wouldn't call it a true old rose fragrance. I'm going to learn these terms, but it is sweet. So if you want a sweet smelling rose, the Emily Bronte is one to look at. Again, tons of new growth. New growth comes in red and green. So I know a lot of people concerned about RRD, and they get a little freaked out or when they see, red growth coming out of a shrub that is predominantly green, but that is very healthy new growth. I have 2 of them. The front one is doing a little bit better than the one behind it. Getting a little more black spot on the one behind it. Again, and I think it's just airflow. So as I said in my last year's video on my least favorite, I knew that they were first-year roses. Might just take a little bit longer to get established. This is definitely a testament to how the second year can really take off. I've heard you might even have to wait to year 3. We will see how she does through the heat of the summer again, and what happens next year. But right now, she's doing really good. So really okay. So during the week, while I was editing this video, so many more of my David Austin rose bushes have just burst into bloom. Really, really fun to see these 2nd year bushes take off, and my 3rd year bushes have just started blooming. I do or I did trim them back the third years pretty hard this year because I moved them all. But after this year, everything will be trimmed a little bit lighter or pruned a little bit lighter, unless the bush is getting too big. So hopefully I'll be getting early blooms and very full bushes on all of my David Austins in future years. As always, I appreciate everyone being here. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.